Hi class, let's take a few minutes and chat about what's happening this week in 391. Please ignore all the boxes around me. We are living in a maze of boxes at this moment. So this last week you completed the Excel assignment, which I believe is labeled as the Lesson 9 application assignment. I hope that the video I included was useful to you and helped you see that data analysis in Excel doesn't have to be scary. It is fairly straightforward and simple because now we are going to be starting our own data analysis. Please make sure that your survey is closed no later than Saturday evening. If at this point you have more than 60 responses, please go ahead and close that survey now and begin the data analysis. If your survey is still open, that is okay. You can plan for the data analysis before it ever happens. Since you know your questions and you know your research questions, you should be able to start matching things up. You can see the initial data trickle in and you can start setting up and deciding which tests you want to run. Please go ahead and do that. You should have a plan before you begin research. Please make sure that you have a plan, and please make sure that that plan very carefully includes those research questions, because I will have your research questions as I grade the results section. You want to make sure as you're writing and planning that results section that you are just as tied to the research questions as I will be. Let's have a talk about how things are going to work this week. It's a little bit different. As instructors, we have been instructed to help our students help themselves. Help our students trust themselves. The last few weeks, there has been a really big push with online learning that we allow you and encourage you to trust yourselves instead of having you have us answer all the questions. Well, I want to be a resource for you, and I love answering your questions. I do agree that there is some value to this exercise. So what we are going to do this week is I am happy to answer questions that you have, but you need to look for the answer yourself first. You need to trust yourself that you are capable of finding that answer. This is especially important because so many of you are graduating within the next year. When you go into the workforce, you can't ask your boss every time you have a question. When you're a volunteer at an organization or an intern, you can't ask every time you have a question. You have to find the answer yourself and trust yourself that you have found it and come up with a solution and run with it. I know that you can all do this. You are adults. You do this in your normal lives. I'm not there to handhold you all the time. And I do have a tendency to try and answer more questions than I maybe should, probably because I spend so much time with small children. So we're going to work on this together. It will be a great growing experience for us together, and this assignment is a great place to start. Remember, as you're going into this results section in data analysis, that it is going to be scary. It's supposed to be scary, but you have already completed biostatistics, which is much more in depth than this assignment is going to be. Also remember that this assignment is meant to show you how the research process goes, but is not meant to require that you produce any amazing new feats of research. None of this research that we collect is probably going to be contributed to the larger academic body of research, and that's okay. Our job is to help you understand how the research process goes and help you complete so that you understand it and can complete a much larger scale research project in your future careers or internships someday at a later point in time. So this doesn't have to be amazing. It does have to be written amazing, but you don't need to spend months and months on your data analysis like a researcher would in another field or in another setting. Okay, that being said, you are probably going to need to run frequency counts, frequency percentages, things like that on every single variable that you have. And that is okay. You will pick and choose what the most relevant ones are. Then you're going to need to look for connections between variables. In most cases, you will do that through either an ANOVA, a chi-square test, or through some sort of t-test. We don't need to go a step beyond that. We don't need to go into regression analysis or anything more complicated than that. If you are able to do that in a limited period of time and you feel comfortable doing it on your own, please go ahead and do so. But the assignment does not require that you do that. If your group is spending, or if any individual member of your group is spending more than 4 hours on this assignment, that is too long. This assignment is meant to take a group between 2 and 4 hours to complete from start to finish. I understand it might take a little bit longer because there's communication delays and things like that, but you need to analyze the data and then you need to write it up. Remember, your write-up is probably going to be 2 pages max because this has to fit in your final paper, which has a 6-page maximum. If you look at that, then that means your lit review needs to be about 1.5 pages. Your method section will be about half a page. The results section will be about 2 pages, and the discussion section will be about 2 pages. And that's basically all the room that you have for a final paper. You can adjust those sections a little bit, but you need to be concise and you need to provide relevant information. If your group decides that one of the best ways to make sure that you have clearly answered your research questions is to use a research question as a heading, that is a great idea. You are more than welcome to do that. You are more than welcome to not do that as well, but that is one way that people try and stay on track. Just make sure those research questions are answered in a concise manner. If you choose to include charts, tables, graphics, whatever, in the results section, that is fine. Just make sure whatever you choose to include is best portrayed visually and not in a narrative. Also make sure that any statistics included in the narrative are done in APA format. I will send out a link that talks about APA formatting for statistics. I believe one was posted last week, but you are also welcome, and I highly recommend Googling reporting statistics in APA format, and it will take you to a website that shows you all of the information you need to include statistics in APA format. Remember, if you do choose to include any of those visuals, you are going to need to put that in APA format as well. And that means that each table, chart, graphic includes a label that is something like table 1.1 and a title that is something like daily exercise by gender. You need to refer to that in the text. For example, see table 1.1, insert title here, and then include it right below. If you have created some amazing graphics, or if Google Forms has created some, or Qualtrics, that is fine, but you just think, this might not be the best use of space, that's fine too. You can include them in the appendix as long as you refer to them in the text and the text is self-explanatory. Not self-explanatory, or the text can stand alone. Anything included in the appendix is extra, meaning the reader doesn't have to flip to that and they should be able to get all of the information they need without those supplemental charts. I will flip to those, but this isn't necessarily meant for me as the audience. This is meant for you to use later in your portfolio. So you want to make sure that all the information is included in that results section, and flipping to the appendix is just icing on the cake. So that results section, I know it's going to be scary. I know it's going to be scary that I don't help you, but this is a good, and I will help you. If you get lost, please let me know. Please, please, please. If you have exhausted all other resources, meaning you have talked to your group members, you have looked at your notes, you have thought about it, please ask me. I want to help you. I really want to hold your hand the whole time, but can't do that. Okay, so if I forgot where I was going with that. If you find yourself in that situation, please, please let me know. But remember, we're keeping this relatively short time period. It will encourage all group members to participate. It will keep us on track. It'll make sure that everyone gets to enjoy the weekend and next week a little bit. Remember, this needs to be very well written as well, and it needs to follow a coherent pattern. Unlike this video today, moving has fried my brain. So I want to help you. I'm here to help you, but trust yourselves. Trust yourselves. I know that you can do it. So let's talk just slightly more about one more thing we have going on this week. It is actually the Lesson 10 relevance quiz. I know there was some confusion about what materials we're going to be quizzed on, and the materials actually come from Lesson 9, and Lesson 10 is the reading material. It's basically going to give you a word problem and ask you which statistical test you should use to test that data. There is a time limit on the quiz. There is a 20-minute time limit, and there are between 3 and 5 questions depending on which version of the quiz you get. I cannot reopen the quiz because Canvas will not let me. So if you run out of time, I am so sorry, but I cannot fix that. And I'm very, very sorry that I cannot fix it. But 20 minutes should be enough time for you to answer between 3 and 5 questions. Do not overthink this. The answer that pops into your head first probably is the right one. And remember that this is worth very few points, so it will be okay. It will be okay. Also, we have a little problem with Canvas that a couple of you have noticed. Some of you may have noticed that instead of a grade, you have a little blank spot in the grade book. For some assignments, they seem to be randomly selected. You've submitted the assignment, you can see feedback. In some cases, you can see the points when you log into that individual assignment, but not as the gradebook as a whole. We're working to fix that. This is a somewhat baffling problem. It seems that Canvas has gone through and randomly selected grades that are not pushing through. If you see feedback on your assignment, there is a grade there. It's just hiding. And we're going all the way up the chain to figure out why this is happening because it's baffling to us. So hold tight. Hopefully we figure out this issue soon. It seems that some grades, we don't know why. So if you are getting worried and frustrated and you see Sister Suker entered feedback, but there's no points, there are points. They're just hiding. And we will fix it very soon, before April. So that's what we have going on this week. We're closing our surveys, we're doing our data analysis, and we are working somewhat independently on that data analysis, though checking in if you have any questions. And we are doing that week 10 relevance quiz. Let me know if you have any questions. I know this video was long. I know there's a lot to do this week. I'm happy to help if I can, but I know you guys are going to do awesome, and you've got this. Have a great week.